Welcome, welcome to all. And thank you all for those that are on the call tonight. And it was a joy to be with you prior to this moment. And I want to kind of open with a thought that it stems from last week's video about the Eucharist. And I had some really beautiful feedback. And I also had some like concerning feedback from some people. But I want to ask people that if you are watching the videos and you're finding blessing in it, or you find something challenging in it, please feel free to comment on it. I mean, because people are reaching out to me through email or texting or messenger, and then they're also like reaching out by phone to ask specific questions. And it's my hope that you would respond within the video, because then it would present the opportunity for me to answer your question for those that are watching the video, because I'm sure, I can't say definitely, I'm sure there's other people that have been watching the videos that came up with the same question you had, but they didn't take the time, or it's busyness of life got in the way or whatever. So please feel free to like, share, and comment. And I don't want to just be caught in the pattern of when you're on YouTube, everybody's saying like, share, and comment, like, share, and comment. My hope is that we could utilize this as a better way to expand the message. So if people have questions or thought or input, please feel free to comment right within the video on the comment section, because it not only does it help the algorithm, but it presents an opportunity for me to respond to it so others can read it. And in that, as I mentioned, there was a lot of really wonderful feedback and how people like recognize that, oh my God, well, I didn't realize that the Eucharist was that real and present. And then there were actually two individuals that reached out, and they felt like I was taking away the Eucharist from their church traditions. And I would say that I'm not trying to take away traditional celebration. I'm trying to help align people with Yeshua's original instructions when he said to do this as oft as you do. He wasn't talking to the priesthood. He was talking to all of us, that we are all called into the royal priesthood. And he was talking about the Last Supper as do this as oft as you do. So every time you partake, every time you draw something of God's creation into you, you recognize first the Eucharistic reality. And in this, I want to state again, and I don't know that I really even stated this clear enough in the last video, but the Eucharist precedes any construct of prayer or any acts of man, whether they be a priest or a layperson. The Eucharist is preeminent. It precedes any act we undertake. And your choice to pray in recognition of the Eucharistic presence of God through the transubstantiation, in other words, the actual reality of God's presence, not the consubstantiation, the representative form of God, but when you choose it in the prayer, that's your conscious choice to say, look, I align myself with the reality of God present within that I'm about to receive and take into me, that I'm just aligning myself with what is precedent reality of the Eucharist already known. And I would ask people to consider that this is available to you as the individual. And if a person chooses to participate in a body of worship and celebrate together with another, it does not diminish it. So if you're celebrating the Eucharistic offering within a church where a priest is handling the prayer and extending the prayer to you, you choose by holy intention to measure and weigh the spirits, to measure and weigh the priest's words, to see if you fully agree with the manner in which he is speaking the words over the Eucharist. Do they align with Yeshua's instruction for the Last Supper and the way that we're supposed to convey this into our lives. And I I want to restate that the Eucharist precedes any form of prayer or any act of man. Again, act of man, act of woman in the priesthood or layperson. It is precedent to that. And it's all available to us through Yeshua. And again, if you feel you wish to follow the traditions within your religious practice, celebrate, have fun with it, enjoy it, and recognize God first within it, and be present with others in the fullness of agreement. Pray for those around you that they might be increased in the recognition of God's holy Eucharistic presence within them and God's Eucharistic presence within them when they're at home making their dinner or feeding their children, that they're prayerfully, Eucharistically extending God's presence to their children as they pack their lunches going to school. I do it like in my building practice, and I've had a couple of clients ask me, something's different in the house. When I'm blessing that which I'm installing in the home, I pray in thanksgiving that God's presence is not only known within me, that it's present now within the things that I'm installing upon the home to bless the home. And there's people that come in that are spiritually attuned and awake that go, there's something different. We just feel it's lighter in the house. We're more connected. We're having more conversations. We're celebrating more together. And I'm like, that's the beautiful reality of what I believe that Yeshua was trying to give us through the example of the Last Supper. When he was saying, do this as oft as you do, as oft as you dwell, as oft as you live, experience any aspect of life. Choose the Eucharistic reality of God's presence within you, celebrate it, move forward in the full alignment that God's precedent nature is there, preceding you, ready for you to align with, and ready for you to move with. So we breathe deep in this moment, and I just want you to take a moment to celebrate the living reality that God is not at some distance. God is present within you now. There is nothing that you can do wrongfully that God would separate himself from you. Any mistakes we make are only veils we've set between us and God's presence. I pray in thanksgiving to know that God's presence within you is the living reality of all that is blessed within you. If we relinquish the words we've been given through earthly guidance that would define things as disease-oriented, we celebrate and recognize God in its place, blessing the holy reality of God within, and we choose it to move forward through strength, vitality, and the wonder of God's holy, living presence in every breath we receive. And for brief edification, as I open in this moment, I surrender into the living name of our God and Creator in Yahweh Elohim, in the first utterance of words that were spoken into creation to establish the image that is Yeshua, the image of God for all to see and know the living presence of God existent, and the Abun, the Eucharistic reality of God's living breath within us, manifesting life throughout all creation, that God is the living author of all blessed things within creation. We can align ourselves with this and breathe deep. From within this breath, as you exhale, I would ask that you prepare for your next breath on the intake and allow for the reality of your breath to remember that it precedes as God's living breath within you, then your body draws air within. The air expands, yet God's presence expands throughout all of your being. We breathe deep. Exhaling, prepare your mind to remember that every cell reaching to the tips of your fingers, to the tips of your toes, to the crown of your head, God's presence is throughout all of your form. The living breath rises from within each cell. You feel and recognize the breath throughout your body. We breathe deep. We welcome in the wonder that is a perfect and loving creator above the words of man, above the words of intellect of which we've tried to encapsulate the limitless nature of God. We surrender that we would ascend to the recognition of that which is God that is limitless, love that is pure and limitless. We breathe as one. From within this breath, I pray that each of you remember and are freed from all the limits of the words of man and awake to the living word that God instilled within you prior to you entering the womb. The living word reality that brings you blessing in every breath, that positions you to follow Yeshua's instruction when he said to receive all things in blessing. The living reality that as we choose all lesser things to be relinquished into God's embrace, we choose God within its place. We ascend and rise above what our bodies may be presenting us or what the limits of the earth might be trying to hold us down in. We open to the true and present reality that we are as one with the Eucharistic reality of God's presence within, and we breathe the living breath in Avun. The Azrai Inai Sala Abundala Kipiandro, Avun Sava Achalum Unlolabish Meetrianamo. Remembering at the words Azrai Inai, resting upon the Azrai point, I return as one. From within this awareness as one, I breathe the Avun, the living breath of God within. I am whole, I am complete. I am in remembrance of the Eucharistic reality of God within each breath I receive and all that I bring to those I serve and to my body, that it would evidence God's glory in each and every breath. We are one in the holy and life-giving name that is Yahweh Elohim, God and Creator, Yeshua, living flesh manifest, Avun, Sala Avun la Kibiyash Ma'arun Drakibiyai. Amen.